Hello, this is Smonova, yeah? What? You want me to paint a whole factory? Okay, I will do it. Thank you, bye bye. Welcome to another episode of the Raw series in this insane spot. This video is sponsored by
Skillshare.
Welcome to my new paradise. Yo, friends and followers. Hello and welcome back in the year 2022. And welcome to the new spot. I'm absolutely speechless. It is just like incredible. But I have the permission to paint here everywhere. And it is so big. It's so big. I still don't know where I want to paint. I would say I will show you around in some of the rooms, and while we are discovering this whole place, we will decide where we want to paint. A quick, maybe 1.5 hour painting session. Which direction should we go? This one. Hello, this is Smonova, yeah? What? You want me to paint a whole factory? Okay, I will do it. Thank you, bye bye. Oh man. Look over there, what a chaos.
Whoa.
Just imagine how much fun is it to paint in this office, to paint in the chaos over there. We got so many crazy rooms in here. It's insane. Insane. But I don't want to paint in the office today. Let's search for another room. Läuft die noch? Yeah, this is the most luxurious problem to have. I can't decide which wall I want to paint first. So cool. Okay, let's just search one other room, and after that we make a decision. If I think here is a really great light situation. Okay, let's just paint here. We just paint here. Paint here somewhere. Let's look around. Where's the best spot in this area? And then we will paint the first time in the new hall. Okay, so I will paint on this wall over there. Decision is made. Or another wall. Or paint on this wall. No, I take this one. I take this wall. This wall is more interesting.
Yo, and VoiceOver Smo is there as well. Just to say, hello.
Okay, outlines. Okay, here. Okay, let me tell you a few words about the color composition the color combination that I want to use today. These two colors here, Cherry Blossom. This will be the outline. We have this pinky tones for the shading of the outlines, for the light reflections, and for shadow in the block. We got the gray tones for a drop shadow on the wall, and this is the color for the fill-in, plus a little bit of designs and effects. Yeah, and that's basically everything. Pretty easy color combo. And yeah, let's just start. Everything else will VoiceOver Smo tell you. What's what?
Yo, and this is VoiceOver Smo. The one rule that I always try to follow when I choose the color composition is always that you need to have a great contrast between the fill-in and the outline. That means if you have a dark outline, you have a light fill-in. If you have a light outline, you have a dark fill-in. That's basically everything. And the colors for the fill-in that I've chosen, they are basically pretty random. There were just some colors that were just there. I just wanted to use them. I've decided to paint on this wall because of the light situation. It is already 2 p.m. Central European Time in Germany when I started to paint, and as I painted this one on the 5th of January, I think, something like that, it is winter and it gets dark outside at, yeah, I would say 3:30 p.m. And as we are inside, we have no electricity and no extra light with us. I have chosen this wall just because it has a lot of windows over the wall. There are a lot of windows over the wall. Just last week, I've already finished the second video or the second project at this place. A super extremely nice Spider-Man wall with a super complicated video and a lot of editing, and it was so much fun. But probably because of the chaos in Smo's life. This video that you see right now will be the second video on my channel, and the Spider-Man video will be the first, probably. Yeah, but who cares? I won't make any promises about an upload schedule this year. Last year I started with I said that I would upload on a weekly basis, and at the end it were just 28 videos in 2021. I hope that I will make 28 this year again. But I would really love to have an upload schedule every week. But it's a lot of stress. Yo, back to the piece. I did not want to paint anything super special. So the letters that I paint, Smo, as always, are not very complicated, and I try to create something like a standard Smo style, that if I have no time or if I have no idea that day, but I still want to paint, or I'm invited to paint somewhere, that I always have this freestyle backup standard Smo style. It's just an idea. Maybe I will not create it and paint pretty similar letters every time. I don't know. But I want to paint more this year. And now I start with promises again. Ah! You can see this ending at the top of the O, and I try to have such an ending in every letter, like the M has it below the O, the S has it at the left side. So I already know that the E will have such an ending as well, so that they all fit perfectly together. And at this point, the O and the M are crossing each other, and I put the O on top of the M and just show a little bit of the M with this slicing technique. That the M is slicing into the O, so that the most important parts of both letters are visible, even while they are sticking into each other that much. As always, I use a eraser can and a first lines can, just to erase the mistakes, to erase the lines that won't be visible at the end, so that I don't get confused while doing the fill-in. And it is so helpful that there are so many chairs in this building. There are chairs like everywhere. This is so cool. You don't have to take a ladder with you all the time. And there at the end there is this ending to mirror the left side of the S on the right side of the E, to give the overall look of this piece a nice symmetry, a mirrored symmetry.
Ah, das S, der obere Teil vom S ist verkackt.
The upper part of the
Das ist
S
super.
looks crooked, I said in German. And this is why I say always, especially to beginners, you don't need to be afraid when you're painting, because it's just paint. You can paint over everything. Just go some steps back. And especially, what helps me the most to find the right proportions, because you get blind when you're standing directly in front of the artwork, directly in front of the piece. You can't see the mistakes anymore. But if you make a photo of it and just see this artwork in a smaller scale, suddenly you can detect mistakes or crooked parts or stuff that looks somehow weird. You can detect it so much easier than when you're standing in front of the wall. This is always very helpful for me. Oh, what was this? Did my cameraman fart? Yeah, and as I made the upper part of the S smaller, of course I need to balance it out on the right side as well, so that the upper part of the E gets smaller as well. Yeah, and this ugly face, this red face on the right side, I don't know if it is Super Mario or whatever. I didn't want to have it besides my graffiti piece, so I will remove it completely to have nice photos at the end and to have a nice overall look. And this pipe, there's this pipe in the middle of the wall, and this is it is so annoying. Still working a little bit on the proportions. Some parts need to be bigger, some parts need to be thinner. Always going some steps back, checking if everything looks right. Yo, and a lot of you guys will probably ask yourself, how is it possible? How did Smoke get the permission to paint in this abandoned factory? And it is because of the permission text that I've sent to so many people who wrote me an email after the last long raw video, where I said, write me an email if you want this text as well, the legal wall approval text. And I answered probably 200 emails already. I will add a download link to my Dropbox, and I will put this text in my Dropbox so that you can download it directly. Just check the video description. And the graffiti walls permission text will be there in German and in English. And the English version is not in such a weird German accent English like I speak. It is translated by the graffiti YouTuber Skizz, who is close to 10,000 subscribers. I've seen it yesterday. It's so cool. It's so cool to see how the YouTube graffiti community gets bigger and bigger with all these new small channels, and some of them put in the work and keep consistently delivering content. And this is the main advice that I can give to everyone who wants to start a YouTube channel. Just be consistent, try to make the best content that you can provide, and just don't stop. You will grow anyways. I will definitely check the position of the camera the next time, because it was facing a little bit too much down. I'm so happy that there was my cameraman Töser still with a lot of super nice shots where you can see everything. So always when I go back, you can't see the whole piece. This is a little bit annoying. And the E is slicing into the O as well. But having two slices is always ugly. So I decided that only the upper part of the E will slice into the O, and the lower part of the E will be overlapped of the O. By the way, there are 4 main connections between letters. Overlapping is the classic connection. Then we have the melting, that always when letters are at the same position, they melt together. Then we have the push through, that is an overlapping with a line with an outline within the fill-in of the letter underneath, and the slicing. And I'm a big fan of the slicing, while I still combine it with overlapping and melting only in tiny points. When the letters just overlap or are connected just a tiny little bit, I like to make tiny melting points. Oh, and there we already start with the fill-in. Pretty quick. Only 20 minutes for the first lines. World record. I do the fill-in with the level 6 fat cap. And the level 6 fat cap for fill-ins, and the level 1 ultra skinny cap for outlines are basically the only caps that I use. I think all the other caps in between are pretty much useless. It's like having a big hammer and a small hammer, and all the hammers in between are bullshit. But I would really love to talk about this topic with Vitaly Tesh, another really talented upcoming rising star of the graffiti YouTube scene. And he always has this little suitcase full of different caps. Super weird. And he always changes the caps, and I don't understand why he does it. It is interesting, but I just don't understand it. I really had to hurry, because light is slowly going away.
Okay, and like you know from all my other raw videos, I want to check if you have seen the video until this point, so please write something with a tomato in the comments. I want to see your tomato comments.
Don't ask me what is this stuff on the ground. It seems to be something like cotton or I don't know. I don't really know, but it is, or like feathers or something. And this weird dust was, after this painting session, it was everywhere. Terrible. This was the only thing that I really did not like about this room. This weird dust. I was so happy that I was wearing a respirator, because while I was walking through this dust the whole time, the dust was in the air literally everywhere afterwards. And Theresa even tried to start the drone. We had even a drone with us, but it was too dark over there and the drone was making trouble and said that it does not want to start over there. As I always try to make the emptiest spray cans empty first, so that I have only full spray cans in my storage, I make the weight check. So I use always the lightest spray can first, so that I can make it empty, and use the fuller spray cans afterwards. In this fill-in, I start with a very saturated color. I go over two muddy, brownish, purplish, beigeish colors, undefined browny colors, and to a very saturated green again. So the rule is saturated, not saturated, saturated. Okay, and the fill-in is done. Yay! Time for some enjoyable outlines. It is weird. It really took me 20 years until I finally am able to paint beautiful outlines. I'm always jealous when I see the outlines of Spoire, for example. He has so beautiful and enjoyable outlines. But nowadays I manage it myself as well to make long and enjoyable outlines like this one. Look! This makes me happy. This makes me happy. I always feel super proud when such a long outline is not crooked afterwards. By the way, when we are talking about Spoire, I can highly suggest his book. There are still some books of him available. And he already said that he wants to visit me this year in my hometown, and maybe we will drive to this factory together as well and paint there a little bit. This would be fun, because he's definitely one of the graffiti artists that can teach me a lot, because he's very creative and does super nice themed walls. Since about a year, I would say, or since about a year, I changed a little bit my way of how I paint a graffiti piece, because until then I was always cutting directly. I did some outlines, I did some cutbacks, I did some outlines, did some cutbacks, so that it is all clean directly, probably because of some insecurity, I would say. And because of more efficiency, now I changed this way of painting, and I do all the outlines first, do all the highlights and designs and stuff afterwards, and see if the piece still needs some cutbacks. Because I noticed that if you do highlights and if you do designs and a lot of outlines that you cut directly with the with the fill-in color,
they yeah, you do it twice. It does not make so much sense. So it is more efficient to do the cutbacks at the end and not directly while you're painting. So back then, I was painting some outlines, do some cutbacks, and I was always having multiple spray cans with me, always fill in color and outline color. And now I do all the outlines first and see where some cutbacks are needed at the end.
Oh. Oh. My cameraman said that it would be easy to remove this pipe.
Mit Gewalt oder mit dem Piekser einmal hier zwischengehen.
I always got the spike with me to clean my tiny pink stencil cap.
Das ist egal.
Violence is a solution.
Gut,
Yay!
Treffer.
I don't know why I was so stupid and why I didn't remove this pipe earlier. Be quiet! Töser should be quiet because yes, we have the permission, but just imagine somebody outside of this building is hearing loud noises in the building, and then he or she watches through a broken window and sees a graffiti artist in there. So what would this person do? Definitely this person would call the police. And what would the police do? Yeah, they would probably, if they come there to catch me, they will not stop running when I say I have a permission. Having a permission always just helps on the long run, but on the short run it does not help at all. I even got smashed down by some policemen who were a little bit overmotivated. Once I got the permission the first time for a wall, and I was painting on this wall. And of course, people are always calling. They're always calling the police. They were even calling the police when I was painting commissions, when I was painting electricity boxes and all this stuff. This is why I was always wearing a neon vest with big letters on my back. This is illegal graffiti art, and I'm commissioned to do this. And they still called the police on me. And so this is why I said shh to Töser, because I don't want to, even if I'm allowed to paint there, I don't want to be suspicious. Because this always makes trouble. It always makes trouble. And then if there's one thing that I really don't like, this is trouble with the police. Talking with the police at all is always terrible. I hate it. Small talk with a policeman. You always think 10 times about every word that you're saying. And the problem, I know they are doing their job and it is good that we have them, everything fine, but I'm always afraid that I say something wrong, whatever it could be. And we are actually sharing this whole factory with the police, and they are doing some, let's say they are doing some training in this old factory. Because I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about and all this stuff, and I don't want to tell you too much about this place because I want to keep it as secret as possible. Because this is a diamond. It's a diamond in possibilities. There's only this one super big old factory in the Netherlands where I painted with each 2 years ago, or was it last year? 2 years ago, I think. And yeah, and now I got a similar factory with even more rooms, more walls, and more possibilities. Yeah, just a couple of hours of drive away from my hometown. Maybe. Okay, let's go back to the painting process, and now I start painting the block, the 3D, and the depth of the block is facing into the direction of an imaginary vanishing point. So back then, when I started painting, I was always making a cross to the wall somewhere, and always taking care that the depth of the block is facing exactly into the direction. And nowadays my block is, I have to admit that it is not that clean anymore. It is not that yeah, geometrically right, but yeah, it is always such a thing with these rules. When you detect a rule, then you start to play with the rule, and when you understand the rule deeply, you get the freedom again to ignore the rule while knowing it. And this is what happens to me, especially in the last years, that I'm not that radical anymore. Like, it has to be all clean, it has to be like this. Probably it's because of my age. I'm already 37. Imagine that. I'm already 37 and having kids and all this stuff. I think maybe my hormones changed, and this is why I'm not that aggressive anymore. And always think that everything has to be like something. Yeah, nowadays I'm super chilled, even when people paint besides me or with me. Yeah, who paint, in my opinion, pretty ugly letters. Back then I was always going to them and annoying them, like, why do you do it like this? This hook over there makes no sense. Yeah, super weird. But nowadays I'm such a chilled person in comparison to 10 years ago, when I was fighting with everything. Fighting with myself, fighting with the artwork. Always in a fight. And I like what you've seen there. I like it so much when the outlines of the letters become bigger outside of the letters. Like, the more far the outline is away from the center of the letter, the bigger it gets. Yeah, this is a process of discovering what you like, because at the end I paint. Why do I paint? I paint because it makes me happy. If it would not make me happy, I would not paint. And I was always thinking about rules or finding the algorithm of what makes me happy, because back then I always painted from time to time graffitis that really were just ugly, and I always wanted to find out, why is it like that? Why is this S ugly while the last S that I painted was beautiful, or in my opinion beautiful? Why does this S touch my heart and this doesn't? And it depends on the shape, and the shape of the letters. Yeah, they have rules. It is like that. They are all based on a calligraphy line. This is something that took me really 10 years to understand. Why is a letter at some points thin and at some points thick? This was so hard for me to understand. And the biggest problem that I had is that all the graffiti artists, and probably I always asked the wrong graffiti artist, but I did not have so much access to other graffiti artists. Those that I met back then and I asked, they always were just talking something about, you need to get a feeling for it. Yeah, what is this for an answer? This does not help me at all. You need to get a feeling. Yeah, what is this feeling tell you once you know it? If somebody would just has told me that the thicknesses of the single letters have something to do with calligraphy, this would have helped me so much. But probably most people are not thinking in such an analytical way like I do. I'm a little bit extreme in this stuff. Thinking, analyzing. And as usual, I leave the parts where I already know that there is even more shadow in the blocks. I leave them white because I will paint some black there anyways. Or this, I don't have black with me. It's not royal red. It's the red that is even darker. It's black red or something. I still don't know all the names of the Montana cans, spray cans. I paint with Montana cans for 1.5 or even 2 years now on a daily basis, and yeah, I don't know all the names. Yeah, this stuff on the ground, it is everywhere in this place. Everywhere. What is this? It's like the stuffing of a teddy bear. Wool. Old, 20 years old wool.
Okay, friends and followers, let me tell you a few words about the sponsor of this video, Skillshare, my most favorite online learning community where you can learn basically everything that you want to learn. From photography, illustration, graphic designs, Premiere Pro, or even Blender 3D, what I'm recently learning because I'm curious and I want to learn so much more about shading. You call me sometimes the shading expert, but in my opinion there's still so much to learn about light reflections, about shadows and light, and how cool would this be to have a real nice 3D model of your own graffiti sketch. And I had no idea about Blender until 2 days ago. And when you want to learn something new, just type in the name of the program that you want to learn, and Skillshare will definitely give you some nice answers. And I started with Your First Day in Blender 3D by Southern Shotty, where he leads you through all the different options and menus and what you can do with Blender 3D. And I can already show you what I managed to do. I still got some problems with how to bring the right color at the right place on the graffiti. I want to bevel it at the sides. I did not figure it out, but I'm curious and I can learn in my own time. Always when I find some time at the evening, I go back to Skillshare, learn a little bit, and hopefully I will become a Blender expert soon. So if you are curious as well to learn something that you always wanted to learn in 2022, check out the link in the video description. The first 1000 people who click on this link will get 1 whole month of free Skillshare experience. So use this opportunity and try it out. You will not regret it. And I say a big thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video.
And finally, the shadow. Yeah, I tried to add some shadow always in the gaps, in the holes, always at the end of the holes, like my magical sentence, holes are dark at the end. So as the block is facing into the to the right side, so all holes need to be dark at the right side. Okay, I changed the cap. Why do I do it? I don't know. Ah, I just added a second cap to the outline color. So this block gets dark to the right side as well. This block gets dark to the right side as well. And it does not have so super clean because always on the left side there will be some highlights on the outline with the lighter pinky colors. So I add some shadow, the holes are dark at the end, the block is facing to the right side. So it gets dark to the right side. And this block is facing downwards, so it is dark. You can see that I still left some white spots in the block, and I bet that I put a cap on a pinky color now and start adding some light to the blocks. Is it right?
Do it, baby.
Yeah! And after adding shadow, now I add some light. Brilliant. Really? I breathe like Darth Vader.
I am your father.
But this is not really because it is so hard to breathe underneath this mask. It is because I hold my breath when I am concentrating a lot, and I paint, and after that I breathe out, I breathe in, and and I paint again. I wish I could do complicated painting and breathing at the same time.
So probably I would die when I was painting an only complicated artwork. This is why I'm so happy that I can do some fill-in stuff so that I have some time for breathing. Oh man, this is so stupid.
Yeah, and I add even some light on the opposite side than the light source is. The light source of this graffiti will be on the upper left corner, and above, like 5 meters away. It comes from the upper left side in a 45 degrees angle. So, and I add even some light on the opposite side because sometimes it makes sense, because it makes some kinks within the block visible, and the shadow side isn't just dark. You always have even reflections from some blocks that get some lights on it. Now I stepped into the stuff. Yeah, and what I wanted to say is you even get some reflections always in the dark as well. And now I start adding some reflections or some highlights in the outline. And I do them always on the upper side of the outline. So no outlines that are facing downwards. Ist gut, ne? No outlines that are facing downwards will get a highlight. So only outlines that are facing upwards. Yo, all outlines that are facing upwards and that are facing to the left side get a highlight on it, because the light source will be on the left side above the piece.
Oh, ich hab einen Block vergessen hier.
I forgot a block! Oh no! But I noticed it. Oh man. Don't tell anyone. Smo forgot a block. I was wearing really warm clothes that day. It was about 2 degrees Celsius Plus in this factory. And I was wearing long undertrousers. And now this is the problem when you start to move too much. When you're moving too much, then yeah, you start to overheat underneath your clothes. And then you get sweaty, and when you then stop moving, you get cold. And this is always a danger. So don't move too much when you wear a lot of warm clothes, because otherwise you will get sick. Yeah, now I do the cutbacks, just here and there, just a tiny little bit. You can directly see where the overall piece needs some sharper lines. And now look how sharp the E is. This makes such a difference. Just these super tiny sharp cutbacks. I would say it's time for the shadow. Yeah, and as I did not take a darker mortadella tone and a darker beige and a darker green and a darker orange with me, you can basically use every darker color to make a shadow. And I use gray and it works. It looks weird on the first shadow, but don't get confused, just continue. You will see it after the third or the fourth shadow that you make with the wrong color, suddenly it looks right. So in general it is not necessary to take a darker shadow color for every single color that you take with you for the fill-in. And for those of you who want to say no, you can use transparent black instead, definitely not. Shadows with transparent black always look extremely dirty. Because the problem of transparent colors is if you paint twice over the same point, it gets darker, so it always looks dirty. A blue would have been cool as well for the shadow. But the blue that I have taken with me was too light. And by the way, I wanted to use the blue for some designs and stuff, and I did not use it because, little spoiler alert, it was getting darker faster than I expected, and so I did not use any blue in this graffiti. Yeah, and I add shadow everywhere where one letter is overlapping or slicing with another letter, and always the letter on top makes a little shadow on the letter below, or if, like in the E is overlapping with itself. So the serif at the top of the E makes a shadow on the extension of the lower part of the E, of the scap, the single connected extra bar. Yeah, and this is my specialty, the 45 degrees angle shadow. I always like it when parts of the letters make a hard shadow on the block. It's like a drop shadow that is going over the block. And you always need to be very careful so that you don't forget any parts, because it is so annoying when you are at home and you see your artwork and you notice suddenly that there is just one shadow missing, or even worse, this one block is missing. This is terrible. Terrible. Now I do some cutbacks with the beige color. And this hole of the M was a little bit too big. So in my world, even the holes need to be similar. So if one letter has a way too big hole in comparison to the others, this destroys my harmony. Looking good. And now the scap of the E is creating a drop shadow over the block of the lower bar of the E. And as this part of the block is facing more up, more into the direction of the light source, of course it gets lighter. And so this is an even lighter color that I add additional to the already existing highlight in the outlines. And I tell you one secret. At the end, I will even add white to the highlights in the outlines. Just some tiny dots here and there, but this gives it this glossiness. So that we have real glossy reflections within the outline. So nice.
And as I really like to have some information about you who is watching this video right now, can you tell me in which room you are watching this video? This would be super interesting. Because I know that a lot of you guys are watching my videos while they are in the office. Yo, this would be interesting. Tell me in which room you are watching this video. Are you in the bathroom, sitting on the toilet? Okay, do I really want to know this? Yes, I want to know it. Please write it down in the comments. This helps me with the algorithm, and I think it's pretty interesting to read all the comments with the tomato in the bathroom.
Yeah, there's definitely some orange missing at this point. Ah, now it is clean. Going back, checking.
Alter. Alter, da hab ich aber einen hingewämst, du. Meine Fresse, ey. Geil.
Some German words of amusement and happiness and being proud that it all turned out like that. Yeah, and this is the third cap that I use. This is the tiny pink stencil cap that I always use for super small and thin lines. Now, these lines are called section lines. They are like connections of different variations of letters that you could add at this point. Just imagine at the section line you could put one part of the letter away and exchange it to one of the other parts of the letters, like a toolbox. Oh, my wife is calling. Hello?
Hello, Bescheid.
Bescheid, okay. I'm just doing the voiceover. Now you're in the voiceover of my YouTube video. Do you want to say anything?
I love you.
Okay, ich fahr dann die Kinder abholen, ne? Okay, long explanation short. I still have 20 minutes to do the voiceover of this video, and then I have to carry the children back home from school and from the kindergarten. Ui. Behave. Behave. Okay, back to the section lines. I think I did not explain it in a very
Next step.
nice
drop
way.
Shadow.
Oh, next step, drop shadow. Okay, let's just finish the section lines. If you imagine you have a bar and letters are made out of different bars, and there is a section line in the middle of a bar and in the middle of another bar, you can divide the single bars always at the section line and flip the ends with each other. Like a toolbox, you know, like Lego stones, Lego bricks. I can't explain it in a better way. I need to show it to you one day. Recently, all this knowledge is just exclusive to my smoke class members. It's so much fun. Recently, we are doing another smoke class. We are in week 3 of the smoke class now, and it is such a joy to see how they're all improving and how they're all discovering the world of making letters complicated in a beautiful way. Yo, and I removed this ugly face. This ugly red face. This was disturbing me the whole time. And even if I did not have the right color for the background, I did not have any white with me. This is a light gray tone. And it is definitely darker than the background. If you don't fill it with sharp edges, if you fade out the fill-in into the background color, it is not visible. So a sharp line in the same color is always more visible than a blurry line. Yo, and the drop shadow always goes in a 45 degrees angle downwards to the right side, and it always starts at the bottom of the piece. Like if you follow along the depth of the block, and at the point where the block touches the wall, if you think like the piece is the three-dimensional object, there is the place where the drop shadow starts. And I do the whole drop shadow. I do the whole drop shadow with a fat cap, and like you can see, of course, it is possible to make even thin lines with a fat cap, but it is harder. At the end, I could paint a whole graffiti piece only using a fat cap. But I'm just too lazy, because skinny caps exist. Just the existence of skinny caps makes me use them, because I'm so lazy. I could even make all the super thin lines that I do with a tiny pink stencil cap with a skinny cap, but there's always this risk. There's this risk that you mess it up. And with the tiny pink stencil cap, I don't have the risk. And this is why I use it, just because I don't want to do stuff twice. Probably because I don't like painting that much. I like having painted. I like the moment when I finished an artwork. This is the only reason why I paint. Because I like the moment afterwards. And while painting, this is always it is stressful. And there are a lot of parts that I don't don't like that much. Because it's hard and because I'm lazy. Oh, and now comes something super beautiful. I forced the drop shadow a little bit to have such a situation that the drop shadow touches the ground, because I knew that I have another darker gray with me, and now I paint the ground in a darker gray as well, so that it looks like if the drop shadow would continue on the floor. And this gives this piece such a super three-dimensional effect, because it starts to interact with the room. Yay! Okay, this was not visible. You will see it in a few seconds.
Jetzt? Halb 4? Oh, krass.
It's already 3:30, so the light is really going away right now. With every second, it's getting darker. .45 angle to the right side downwards, and the drop shadow starts at the bottom of the block, because this piece is hanging on this wall. It is like mounted to the wall. There's no gap between the wall and the piece. And now I try something, if it looks cool, to make it even darker, so that the shadow gets a little bit darker. But I will remove it. The effect is not that good. Yeah, now you notice that I get a little bit in stress, because I know that I don't have so much light anymore, and I have to finish it, but I don't want to mess it up. And yeah, this stress makes me make this stress
Halo auch noch.
makes me make so
Den Halo vergessen.
makes me make so many mistakes. Is it a sentence? This stress makes me make so many mistakes. This drag. Oh man. Best voiceover ever. But, like I promised, now I add with the tiny pink stencil cap just some white into the highlight of the outlines. Please always check the video description. There are some helpful links. I will also add a link to the tiny pink stencil cap over there. I get 10% of the tiny pink stencil cap when you buy it with this link. But I want to say to you that you can get it cheaper on Amazon if you are poor, and I can highly understand that painting is more important than supporting me. So if you don't have so much money, check the tiny pink stencil cap on Amazon. You will definitely get it cheaper over there than at the link where you can buy it in the video description. Yeah. And also check out the download links for a wall permission, a free painting wall permission. I'm always happy when I get emails of you that it worked and that you got a new painting wall in your city somewhere. This is so cool. And I add a tiny, just a tiny fading in this gray outside of the shadow to make the shadow a little bit blurry. This makes the shadow more realistic. Now the problem of this wall is that this wall is already white, and it is not possible to work with my heart-shaped halo. And I knew it. I knew it that it is not possible to paint light on a white surface. So if you want to add light to something, it has to be darker than the lightest color you have with you, because you can't paint dark light. Light has always to have lighter than the background. And because I had this blue and I wanted to use it, this is so weird. So many wrong decisions right at this moment. So many wrong decisions. And I knew that this will not work, but I had to prove myself that I know that this looks like shit. Sometimes you make so weird decisions. But this was just because of the stress, because I had to finish it. And I wanted to add my heart on top of the piece. Even you could make as much dust to it as you want, it will never glow.
Das sieht aber scheiße aus.
This looks like shit.
Das sieht richtig scheiße aus.
This really looks like shit. And what do I do now? I remove it. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. And you can see that it gets really dark now. So I add only a heart in the same color like the outline color, and that's it. Boom!
Okay, it's getting dark. And I just decided that we are done. This is the final result!
Yo! And at this point I want to say a big thanks to my beloved Helby Gang, my patrons who support me for more than a year already and help me to make videos like this possible. Thanks a lot, and I send you a virtual hug.
Hasse, Okay, friends and followers, a big thanks to Montana Cans for supporting me with a lot of free dope spray cans. This was my first painting in the new spot. I hope that we will have a lot of great, more detailed artworks soon over here. And yeah, that's it for today. Please don't forget to like the subscribe button, and we see us in the next project. And please don't forget to check out the link in the video description to be one of the first 1,000 people who get a free month of Skillshare. There, down there.
Na, wolltest du einen Tag machen?
And at this point, I want to say a big thanks to my cameraman, Tesa. Come on, make a tag now.
Komm.